Hey VC, how's it going? Right, okay, this is a response video to a video that Norman Maslov uploaded a couple of weeks ago now, which I think he entitled Two Fantastic Disjointed Double Rock Albums. And he spoke about Tusk by Fleetwood Mac and the other being the White Album by the Beatles, of course the Beatles. And I've got to say, I totally agree with him, because both of those records, albeit they're long, they're disjointed, they're a little bit awkward at times, I wouldn't change them at all. You know, I know a lot of people talk about those records and say they should be distilled down into one disc, but no, I love them as they are. With all their faults, I think they're perfect. And I want to do my own response by talking about two more records. But I suppose this is a case of one-upmanship on my part, because I'm going to talk about two triple albums. The first being Sandinista by The Clash. Now, I find this album absolutely fascinating, because if you think about their career up to this point, this came out in December 1981. Now, their debut came out in 77, which, as wonderful as it is, it's a straight ahead punk record. They followed that with Give 'Em Enough Rope, which is just basically a diluted version of the debut. It's more punk. It's got a few great tunes on it, particularly the opening track, Safe European Home. But aside from that, I can pretty much do without it. But then they followed that in 1979 with, you know, we're talking about rock records, rock double albums. This is a perfect rock double album. This is London Calling. Now, this is 19 tracks split over two records. Only 18 tracks credited on the back, of course. The final track, Train in Vain, was added at the last minute, so it's not included in the track listing. But yeah, 19 tracks, and it's perfect. Again, it jumps around stylistically. It goes from rockabilly to punk to pop, but every change in direction feels totally natural. All of the songs are great. As I say, I think from a rock double album point of view, it doesn't get any better than that. Actually, it's so good, of course, that famously Rolling Stone magazine declared it the greatest album of the 1980s, despite the fact it came out in December 79. And they followed that album 12 months later with Sandinista. Now, this is interesting. It's 36 tracks split over three records. And, you know, first of all four members of The Clash, they all provide lead vocals at some point. Paul Simonon sings on the Crooked Beat, which is that beautiful, dubby, bassy, you know, treatment that it is. Topper Hedden, the drummer, provides the vocals on Ivan Meets G.I. Joe, which is a great pop tune. And then, of course, Mick Jones and Joe Strummer, they share the vocals throughout the rest of the record. Again, stylistically, it's all over the place. It jumps from pop to punk to soul. You know, Hitsville UK, one of the singles, has very much a Tamla Motown vibe going on. It's got a little bit of gospel in places as well. I say, not all of the tracks are original tracks. Some of them are sort of remixes or dub versions of other songs on the album, but it all hangs together beautifully. Now, I first heard this album in 1999, and I bought the album on CD, which was a double CD. So basically, the first three sides have been put on one disc, and then the second three sides put on the second disc. And I think I actually went through it, picked out my favourite tracks, and put those songs on one side of a 90-minute cassette. So I only pretty much had half the album on the tape, and that tape went round and round in my car for months and months. So what I've actually got is an album that I know half of incredibly well, and it sort of dawned on me when I started listening to this in the last few months that the other half of the album I wasn't too familiar with at all. But I've been really enjoying it. When it came out, it was absolutely panned by the critics, but I doubt very much that any of those critics sat down and listened to the thing in its entirety. And I would recommend anybody, if you've got a spare 2 hours, treat yourself, listen to the whole of Sandinista. Right, the other record that I want to talk about, well, I'm going to show it on CD to begin with, was a triple album that came out in 1996, and that's Prince's Emancipation. Now, the lead up to this had been fascinating. I was a big Prince fan at the time. So in the early 90s, he signed a new deal with Warner Brothers, which was going to give him loads and loads of cash. But to get that cash, to get that deal, he had to sell 5 million copies of every album that he put out, which he did with Diamonds and Pearls. But very quickly after that, the numbers started reducing and he wasn't hitting the numbers. Now, Warner Brothers put that down to the fact that he's releasing too many records too often. There's too much music coming out. He was saturating the market. Now, Prince being Prince, because he was so prolific, he just wanted to keep putting out records. He just wanted to keep releasing music. So obviously Prince and the label, they fell out. And we had that awkward sort of standoff for a little while where he was trying to get freed from the label. Now, eventually, 1996, he gets to release music on his own MPG label. And as I say, this is 36 songs spread over 3 CDs, and each CD is exactly 1 hour long. So this is 3 hours of music. And I remember being so excited about this record coming out, this album coming out, sorry. The first single from the album was a cover version. Now, Prince had never put cover versions on his studio records previously. And here we are with 4 covers on this record. So the first single was The Stylistics, Betcha by Golly Wow, which really suited Prince. It really suited his falsetto vocal. He has got a lovely spoken word part in the middle of it. Live band feel. You can hear the live drums. It just felt like he was having fun. The other cover versions, stuff like La 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 Means I Love You, the old Delphonics tune, beautiful. He does a gorgeous version of I Can't Make You Love Me, the Bonnie Raitt song. He had a lot of time and a lot of respect for Bonnie Raitt. And the final cover version, a song which I didn't like the original, and I don't like Prince's version, is One of Us by Joan Osborne, obviously a religious tune. And his music would get far more religious in the next few years, but that's a different story. But this record came out, and I think what's interesting about this now coming back, part of the problem with it is the production sound. It's a little bit dated. The drum sound's a bit dated, but the middle disc on here, the second disc, contains some of the most personal music that Prince ever released, ever recorded. And around this sort of time, he married Maite, one of the dancers from the MPG, the New Power Generation, Prince's group. And the second disc is just full of so much hope. It's clearly a man in the early parts of a new relationship. You can hear the excitement, you can hear the hope. And what is absolutely heartbreaking is the song Let's Have a Baby. We now know, obviously, that not long after this came out, the couple had a baby who passed away just days after being born. So when you hear all this hope and all this, so the excitement of the new relationship, you can't help but, just feel that heartbreak. Basically, it's absolutely awful what they went through, but it's all there. As I say, possibly, absolutely some of the most perfect personal music that the man ever put out. And yeah, I do love this record. It's got a great track on here, a song which he recorded with Kate Bush. Now, he'd recorded with Kate Bush for her Red Shoes album in, I think, the early 90s, about 93. But the track on here, My Computer, you can really hear Kate Bush's backing vocals on the track. And I think this is the best song on the album. Now, when he passed away in 2016, I thought what would happen would be there'd be this big reevaluation of his music, particularly the stuff that he put out in the 90s and the 2000s, much of which had been overlooked. That really hasn't happened. I mean, there've been other releases come out from the estate, which have been fine, have been good, but it'd be nicer to have some of these records reevaluated and just really for people to see just how good some of this music is. It's not all going to be for everybody, but as I say, if you don't do anything else, check out the track My Computer. But there you go. So it did come out on vinyl in the 2010s, and that's a 6 LP box because of the fact that the 3 CDs were so long. I say 3 hours of music, but yeah, it works really well as an LP set as well. So there you go. That is 2 triple albums in response to Maz's double album video. One more, of course, is better. Cheers.